Her 16-year-old mentally challenged nephew was beaten to death by inmates in the Richmond County Jail. Tonight, 40 years later, a family member recalls the Augusta race riots.
Charles Oatman's aunt is talking only to 12 about the beating death that drove hundreds into Augusta's streets. News 12's Chris Thomas has the exclusive reaction in this special assignment.
Well, we got our hands on this autopsy report from 40 years ago that tells a gruesome story. Take a look. May 11th, 1970, hundreds take to the streets of Augusta, setting fire to more than 100 square blocks. Law enforcement moves in. 6 people die in Augusta's race riots.
That didn't have to happen, all of that. Tearing up people's property and stuff. That was bad.
Carrie Oatman remembers it well. Georgia guardsmen and tanks lined city streets, blazing what was called a trail of sorrow.
The people told us that the places down where they had food to eat, child. And they just went and destroyed all of that.
You can trace it all back to this report. Carrie's 16-year-old nephew, Charles Oatman, found dead after numerous severe beatings in the county jail.
Like spots were jabbed in his flesh. And I said, oh my God, and I passed out.
We didn't know anything like this could have happened. We thought we had good race relations.
Now I'm thinking about the families that were put out of their homes.
Grady Abrams was a councilman at the time. He took straight to the radio waves.
I looked at this boy's body. He had cigarette burn marks from the tip of his feet to his neck, all over his body. He had fork marks all over his body.
Grady's words drove an angry mob to the city building. They burned the state flag and rioting followed. You're the one who's credited with starting this whole thing?
Yeah, there were people in the neighborhood who had prepared people to throw the first rock, to throw the first bomb. They were there, and I'm not going to revise history to protect them.
You don't feel you could have done anything to prevent it?
How could I, in good conscience and good moral standing, see this atrocity and keep my mouth closed?
In the end, Carrie feels some responsibility lies with Charles's mother, who died in 2009. Charles was behind bars for murdering his younger relative.
Because they know Charles was off. They shouldn't have left no gun around for him to get no gun and go in that kitchen and kill that little girl. I blame them for that.
But there was plenty of blame to go around. At least one black man, Sammy Lee Parks, served time for killing Oatman.
People didn't know Charles Oatman. They could care less about Charles Oatman, but it gave them an opportunity to vent the anger that they had.
Living conditions were poor. There were the nice areas of town and then the black areas with dirt roads and poor sewage that led some to say enough is enough. I have to ask you, in the end, what did it accomplish?
If any good thing came out of the riot, it was that politicians began to listen to the voices coming out of the black community.
Including you?
Yes, including me.
And it's hard to believe, but this was a one-night event that left millions of dollars in damages, guys.
And a pretty famous Augusta native is the one who actually helped calm everybody down, right?
Well, that's right. The godfather of soul himself, James Brown. Coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, we talk to the legend's closest friend about the day following the riot, plus exclusive reaction from the man responsible for representing the people who were arrested. All new at 11 o'clock.
Interesting look back, Chris. Thank you.
Indeed.
40 years ago today, hundreds of people were arrested in the Augusta race riots. They were protesting the beating death of a 16-year-old mentally challenged inmate in the Richmond County Jail.
Tonight, the local lawyer responsible for representing these folks speaks out only on 12. News 12's Chris Thomas has the exclusive reaction in this News 12 special assignment.
We talked with that lawyer and caught up with a close friend of James Brown, who talks about the godfather of soul's role in getting the city back on the good foot.
There were people in the community who wanted a ride, who were waiting on a ride.
The Augusta race riots claimed 6 lives.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen.
Businesses set on fire.
And thinking about my city on fire and the people who were killed, it just sort of, It was shocking.
Looters came from all over, including South Carolina.
So they came from Aiken County to Augusta to get a TV set.
Hundreds of people were locked up after the riots. They needed representation. That's where Bill Coleman came in.
First thing that struck me is I've never been arrested, but no one who was arrested or charged with looting or whatever it was embarrassed or felt awkward about it.
With the city still smoldering, James Brown returns home.
He actually walked the streets to calm people down. He also had a radio station, and he went on the air.
Saying those things that'll make people think before you jump and do something stupid.
The Godfather's right-hand man, or shall we say Cape man, Danny Ray, was there when Brown declared, someone has to talk to the kids.
It's crazy. Well, where you gonna go now? You burn your place down, you're reading all this saying. And what you expect now? Then go out there and get killed. What have you gained?
James Brown said that. James Brown said that.
Former City Councilman Grady Abrams spends much of his time painting scenes from those days.
Yes, some of the time is here, especially the group called the Committee of 10.
This is you here?
This is me.
The committee was formed to try and bring life back to the city.
People that these groups thought they were helping by having a riot and by throwing the fresh rock, they hurt those people.
I said, Lord, don't let them destroy my place.
People like Carrie Oatman had legitimate concerns. 51 fires were reported in a 6-hour period. In that short time, the community changed forever.
They've never been able to recover. Never been able to recover. The stigma is still there. Businesses left that never came back.
Laney Walker, for example, has since been labeled a slum area. In many cases, this is what you see block after block. Now, the city has started a $37 million redevelopment plan, but that's over the next 50 years. The effects of this riot could be felt almost a century later.
Well, one thing it did accomplish, people started listening, because they didn't want their city torn up.
Neighborhood work programs were created, and the county started the Human Relations Commission. It was meant to field community complaints, but it was shut down in 2008.
It's a shame. I'm sorry.
This coming from the city administrator.
I'm sorry that they're leaving, but, they're tough decisions we had to make, and that's why we're here to make them.
Abrams worries the lack of basic things that led to the race riots.
Basic services like, why have raw sewage running through a community? Why have garbage that won't be picked up? Why have streets that aren't paved? When it rains, you got to go in potholes in the black community.
Could fuel more anger today.
And I wouldn't want to see another riot come through Augusta like that, would you?
Many estimates put the crowds at anywhere from 300 to 700 people. Keep in mind, this was a one-night event that resulted in millions of dollars in damages.
Thank you, Chris. And as Chris just mentioned, the Human Relations Commission that was formed after the riots was shut down. It was formed. There was still a way for you to voice your concerns about your neighborhood or the city in general. Augusta Cares still in action. Contact 706-821-2300.